Podcast in the building. Tuftalkpodcast in the building. The Tuftalkpodcast in the building. The Tuftalkpodcast in the building.
Welcome back, guys, to Tuftalk TV. It's your boy SHAKA. I'm here with some very, very, very special guests today. My guys, my boy Steff is not in the building today, but he'll be back soon, don't worry. So in place, we got our guys right here, our guests, my brother Ibn Wallace, and my man's right here, the main man right here, you know what I'm saying? Both of my main mans right here, rock right, you know what I'm saying? The building, it's lit. So we about to get into a little gym before we get started. But I'm going to let y'all introduce yourselves and all that too. Let them know what's up, my boys. Let them know what y'all do.
For sure. My name is Ibn Wallace. I'm from Montclair, New Jersey, representing the 973. You already know. Happy to be here.
Word.
Yes, sir.
No doubt. My name is Julian Wright, from Los Angeles, California, representing 323-310 down in Atlanta right now. So got to represent the 404-770. You know what it is, 678. Yes, sir.
That's it, Fendi, you heard?
Yeah.
No kids, y'all know who I am, you know what I'm saying? We're going to get into a little record before we get started or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? This is Tommy Revenge. The song is called Doing Too Much. Also, before we get started, too, I want to give all praise to the Most High Yah. And so we all of us here believe in the Most High Yah. So I want to give thanks and all praise to the Most High Yah. And thanks to Gotham Studios for allowing us to use the space. Miles is not here today. Instead, we got our boy Charles in the background. Shouts out to him. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get started.
Yesterday I was half the man you see. Baby, that's because you the other half of me. You my number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, Dan. If I wrote a song about you, then it's a hit, Dan. I've been on 10 since I was 10 years old. Swag on archive, it's never getting resold. All these other bitches like your little sisters. I put you in a helmet like you started pitching. Married in the church, so I bought us some new Christian. That's Dior on, Rick D call home. I feel like I've been stuck living a nightmare, trying to figure out if we even the right pair. We go together like Yankee Fitters and Nike is, and I feel it in the night air. Even though you're not here, save a spot for you right there. You right there, just left the salon still blowing.
Yeah, man, that was Tommy Revenge. The song is called Doing Too Much. You know what I'm saying? I played that for a reason. My boy Ibn, gave me the track, but he said something in the song that I think resonates with us in the beginning. He said the man you was yesterday different from today. You feel what I'm saying?
Sure.
And I feel like that resonates with all of us. The men we were yesterday are different from today. I want to give the audience a little backstory. So all three of us, we met at Hampton University during the summer program or one that they had going on. I was there for the summer. These brothers stayed after I left or whatnot. But over that little time in the summer, we all built a bond. You know what I'm saying? We built a bond. We had some other brothers with us who's not here with us today as well. But the three of us especially built a very significant bond that's lasted until now. You feel what I'm saying? Going on forward. And I believe that when we first met, you understand, what we were yesterday, we're completely kind of different and evolved to to the beings and the energy that we got now. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to talk today about, you know what I'm saying, my man Ibn or whatever. I know he got married recently.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
To his beautiful, beautiful wife, Brielle. Shout out to her as well, you know what I'm saying?
Mrs. Wallace, for sure.
That's a fact, you know what I'm saying? I was at the wedding was fire and all that. You know what I'm saying? It was a lituation. We had a good-ass time and everything like that. Word. So I wanted to ask you or not, getting started, how does it feel to be married? What's the difference between yesterday and today?
Number one is priorities. Your priorities is way different.
Right.
I think your focus also is different. How you interact with your significant other is very different. Before, when you engage or when that's just your girlfriend or just your friend, it's more so, certain things fly in terms of communication, a lot of jokes, stuff. But now it's like we in it for the long haul. So you gotta be very kind of tentative and careful. And, very thoughtful and mindful of how you speak to your woman, how because in hindsight, God has given you her, God has given you her, as a big, responsibility. It's your responsibility to mold her. She's your woman. So when you get married, that shift happens automatically.
Right.
It's like, God kind of put his hands on you. It's like your focus is just different. So like I said, the little things, like the way you talk to her, the way you treat her, everything just got to be on a different level, a different scale. So, that heart to protect her changes, When it's just a girlfriend and your friend, of course you got to protect her. But now it's at a whole different scale. It's more heightened. You think about it more often.
Right.
So that's, and I've only been married for a month, but
hey, look, man.
But yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It counts. Yeah, that's a fact. Look at it, both of us. You know what I'm saying? Right. Speak more to the mic, rock and all that too.
I said that's a month longer than both of us.
Yeah.
Man. So you got the experience right now, man.
Yeah. You got it both of us or whatnot. Sure. The reason why I wanted to talk to you about it, and we all gonna get into our thoughts on marriage or whatnot. Us being young black men growing up in the societies that we came from. I want to rock to explain, like what his thoughts are on marriage or what he's looking for, like, what you look for a woman in general, as well as like, what you think, what are your ideals or whatnot as it comes to marriage? Is it similar to Ibn's? Is it a lot more with that, or is it more complex? Or you like what do you think about marriage? Because a lot of us or whatever, we young, we 25, growing up or whatever, we had taught like wait or whatever till you get older and all this other stuff, back get married or whatnot. But my boy jumped right into it. You know what I'm saying? And that's all praise to the Most High. So I wanted to know what you thought about that.
For real. All praise to the Most High. Now my beliefs are pretty similar to his. I definitely think marriage is by far the most important decision that a man has to make in his life, because you're choosing. And the way I believe if you choose to be with this person, it's forever. Like the Bible says, Yah doesn't like divorce. So if you decide to be with this woman, if you decide to lay with a woman, as men, we're supposed to actually, take them under our wing. We're not supposed to dishonor our women. Right. And I hear a lot of black men out here, especially nowadays, talking about black kings, black queens. Oh, you my black queen. Well, if she's a black queen, then you need to treat her like that. And you can't dishonor her. If you're going to lay with that woman, you're supposed to be with that woman. That's how the older generation used to do it. And I feel like that's something that we need to get back to. In society nowadays, it's a lot of promiscuity going on, and just people giving their bodies away without really understanding the repercussions of it.
Right.
And I feel like that's something that we really just need to learn how to date again. I feel like our generation wasn't taught how to date. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you on that part in terms of our generation not being taught how to date, because like what's a date? Like I don't even think I ever, like I've been maybe like on a couple dates I can count on my hand, like official real dates or whatever. Everything else has been like just having fun, chilling, relaxing, doing what it do, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? It's tough talk. But but yeah, like only thing I would say is on that, I think that like, yeah, it's true that the older generation probably did treat their spouses better or whatnot, and they had more like they put more like emphasis on like being married or whatever and what it means and holding true to that. But at the same time, I believe the promiscuity or whatnot has always kind of been around. It's just more out in the open nowadays in terms of like it's on the TV. We got all the social media stuff, so it's more exposed to you. As opposed to back then, everybody kind of was doing anything on the low. And today, where a woman is more like, I guess I say independent or whatever, she's more willing to like leave a man for cheating or whatnot. Back in the days, like you said, they didn't believe in divorce. So if the man cheated or whatnot, the woman would still stay. He would have a family on this side of the block and a family on that side of the block. I know personal experience or whatever, because but I ain't gonna get too much into that, but it's crazy like that. I think that we kind of give the older generation a little bit too much credit sometimes when it comes to like marriage and this and that and staying married, because a lot of times like they was miserable in their marriages and they wasn't completing their purpose in their marriage. For me personally, I believe that whoever you're married to it's like a person joining in on your purpose. So whatever your goal is, whatever your path is with the Most High, that person, or whatever her path is with the Most High, it kind of combines, it connects, it joins together, and y'all become one, and now y'all on the same path, serving a purpose to each other, and in the grander scheme of things, serving a purpose to the Most High. Yeah,
that's the main thing. Like just knowing God's word is very important too, because it says God will give you a helpmeet. Your wife is your helpmeet. And I think the main thing, like we talked about social media and a lot of misconceptions that we consume today.
Right.
I think a lot of the misconceptions is understanding what marriage is, especially in the Word of God, knowing that, marriage is a covenant, man, woman, and God. That's it.
Thanks.
Not man, dog, and like, what I mean?
That's a fact though.
It's real. You got to really think about it. It's man, woman, and God. It's a covenant. you know, marriage is not a partnership. It's not a contract. You know, it's not just a piece of paper. You know, it's a covenant. So, you know, our pastor says, you know, 1 + 1 = 3, which is one of the biggest things I meditate on a lot of times because, you know, I think about that. You know, it's me, Brielle, and it's God. You know, God's at the head.
Right.
You know, once you keep that, you know, in mind, then I think the rest is really, you know, your steps is ordered, especially as the man, like we men. So I think, you know, once you know, take that into consideration, like I said, you know, your steps is ordered. But I think relying on the word in terms of finding your wife is the biggest thing, you know, trusting God, being patient in that, you know, praying to him. That's one of the main things. That's a big part of, you know, my testimony and finding Brielle. You know, I prayed to God, you know, and I wasn't in the best space. But when I did pray, you know, I asked God to, you know, help me find a God-fearing woman. Literally like a week or so, if that later, you know, met Brielle.
Wow.
And the rest was history, you know.
Right.
So it's very important to stay connected. And no matter where you are in your faith, like you can feel like you and God haven't talked in ages. But God honors love. He honors marriage.
Right.
You know, it's another thing with the script in the word. It says, you know, what is it? Sorry. A man findeth a wife, findeth a good thing, and obtain favor from the Lord.
Right.
So you find your wife, you literally find your life. So,
yeah,
you know, it's very important to, like, I love the word, you know, reading. I know you're big on the word, huge on the word. Like, they show I'm big on the word. That's, you know, that's the one thing I love about our relationship. All three of us are big on the word.
That's a fact. You know what I'm saying? We all God-fearing men here at Tuftalk, and at the same time, we also believe in the role of the man or whatnot in the household and in the community, in the society. And I know you could touch on that more than I can because you're from LA, where, like, you know, that masculine energy and that presence was, like, strong back in the day, and that kind of deteriorated or whatnot with the whole policing thing or whatever out there, and the lack of, maybe on all our communities, I probably say, like, the lack of a male figure or whatever in the community, because I think that we probably the only community, like, out of all the races or whatever, where we don't take pride in our community, meaning like the household, started from the individual to the household, which is the family or whatnot, going on to the community. Like, you know, paying attention to what's in your community, the type of stores is in your community, the type of people or whatever that's in your community, what's going on, the events, and you holding yourself accountable for how your community is looking. You know what I'm saying? And I think that also, like, starts with marriage or whatnot as well.
Sure.
It starts with the relationship between you and the Most High, but then also marriage is a big part of that, because you expand your community when you get married. Because the next step after that is to have children that's going to grow up in the community that you're in. You know?
Nah, you hit it right on the head, bro. I mean, it's when we think about the family and we think about we look back and we really dissect how the enemy has decided to come at the black community. They came right at the man,
right?
You know, and even if you read the Bible, if you read a lot of times they were talking about kill the men. You know, you could say the women and children, but it was always the men. The war is always against the men. Right. And so, with that being said, it's just looking, like you said, back in the 80s, that's where a lot of it began. I remember, actually, my junior year of high school, I had to do a project where I had to interview my grandfather. My grandfather's, he's from Harlem, up on 116th Street. And I remember he moved to L.A., in that time, Watts Riots time, when a lot of stuff was going on. And he really broke down, like, that time, the 60s with the civil rights movement, the 70s, he was like, it was quiet, but the government was doing a lot of things. Like, around that time, he would tell me stories of how the government would literally run trains in the backyard. There's a railroad track in Compton, there's another railroad track in Hyde Park, used to be. It's a lot, kind of like here. There's a lot of stuff going on. They're rebuilding. They're doing a lot of stuff. So they would sit these railroad trains right there in the backyard of these people's houses for months on end. And finally, you know, people will go outside and they explore the trains and they look inside them and they find AK-47s. They find shotguns. They find crack cocaine.
That's crazy.
You know, because, I mean, if you really think about it, how can a brother from, you know, growing up in the ghetto really afford an AK-47?
Right.
You know, I'm pro Second Amendment. I'll never go against that. You know, I'm up in New York, so I ain't got it on me right now. But you know what I'm saying? It's something that I feel like every man should be able to protect his home, and it shouldn't be a government or anybody saying otherwise, because I feel like we should really be able to, protect the people that we love, especially as men, And so he just told me a lot about that, and that really started showing me, okay, there's a war against men, especially black men, because like you said, other communities aren't really set up like that, where it's the woman wanting to be independent, where the woman is wanting to push the man, I can do bad all by myself,
right?
All these different things, and it's definitely a war going on right now.
Right. I would just say two things on that, right? Like, because I definitely agree with you. I don't have any issue with a woman being independent or whatever, but I do definitely feel like it's a whole attack right now going on against black men, in the sense of trying to kind of get us up out of here for real. Mentally, physically, and spiritually. And some of that is, we have to take accountability on that as well. Because, like I said, me, even though I'm a Christian and I believe in the Most High, I always, hands down, I listen to other, people from other, religions. I love, Farrakhan. That's one of my mentors, growing up or whatnot. Just listening to him speaking, what he be talking about. He said that the woman is always a reflection of the man. So if the woman is out here trashy, or if we calling a woman out here doing bad, that's a reflection of us. That means we're doing terrible out here. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that we have to, retrain our minds and retrain our spirits as well to be aligned with the Most High, just so that we could because like I said, I feel like once we start doing our thing on our side or whatever, they'll be doing a lot better. It'll be a lot better options out here or whatnot for us as men as well. Because the way how men behave out here is actually crazy too. Me growing up, I didn't really notice it or whatever until I was 15, 16, going to school or whatever and shit like that. And I would see men in their 50s or whatever, 40s or whatnot, out in the corner looking crazy, and they hollering at a girl that's 13, 12 years old, 14 years old, shit like that. So we definitely got to clean up the men in our community as well, and I think that we'll see a better change or whatnot with the the man-woman thing as well, our relationship with women in general.
Big facts.
Word.
Definitely.
We gotta hold our own. We gotta be accountable for ourselves too.
Yeah. Gotta speak to the mic, my boy.
My fault.
You good.
Nah. I'm so used to FaceTime and everything. We definitely, as men, black men, we have to hold ourselves accountable too. That's a big thing that we can always point the finger at the women or the society, but a lot of times if we read the Bible, it shows us how to actually be men.
Right.
Very much so.
And so, yeah.
Word. And I wanted to ask y'all too, more still on the yesterday kind of side of things, you before you were married, because I know, your mom's the one or your pops and everything. What were you taught about marriage growing up?
I think growing up, my parents, they were together, but then they got, they actually got married when I was younger, when, because I have two little sisters. So when my second sister was, she was the only child that was born in wedlock. My parents were married when they had her. So I guess I was around 8 or 9, maybe a little older. But one thing I learned was how important it was for the male to be the head, to I guess to be the provider. And to henceforth provider, really, really be that provider in all aspects, not just financially. A lot of things, a lot of mentalities with culture is when you provide, it's just from a financial perspective.
Right.
When you're in a marriage and you're the man, you have to provide on all accords. That's from financial to spiritual to anything you could think of in terms of providing. Shelter. You got to provide everything. And there's a sense of pride that comes with that.
Right.
So, watching my parents before they, unfortunately got divorced as life went on, it was very important to understand that providing aspect. And, I always knew in my heart, I knew one of my main goals since I was young was to be married. And I didn't really, I just asked God, of course, to use me. I didn't care how old I was. It was just more so, when I do get married, please let me be, the best provider, allow me to provide on all sides and all cylinders so my family wants for nothing.
Right.
So I think that's one of the main things, I learned, just watching my father. If you ever see him, he has a, big presence about him. So, when I was younger, seeing that, in a household perspective, it was, it made sense to me, it clicked for me okay, I understand my role. It helped me understand my role. And that's why, back to what y'all was saying, it's very important that, the black man, just how we're perceived, you know, and especially in you know, popular culture and pop culture and you know, American culture. It's very important that we change our perception a lot because like that, I think roles is a little bit of a, you know, I guess a little off nowadays. And I only say that because like how we treat our wives and how we treat just the general women in our community, it has to improve because I think the African American. Sorry, if I'm getting a little off topic, I'm bringing it back. I think the black woman is like the, I guess the least respected, you know, creature essentially in life, if you will.
I believe that as well. Yeah.
And I only say that because, and relating it to marriage, because when you see black man, black woman get married, it's a very beautiful thing.
Yeah,
it's a very beautiful thing, and it's not knocking any other marriages. It's not knocking any other.
Yeah, racism, nothing like that.
It's just a fact. It really is a beautiful thing. So I think tying it back to what you were asking me, you know, seeing my parents married, you know, man, woman, black woman, it was like it's something to strive for. So changing that perception in pop culture and how we're perceived and how we respect the women of our community, it'll make the difference for generations to come. So
that's a fact. I agree with you on that. And like I said this at my boy's wedding or whatnot, like, because I went to maybe like 1 or 2 marriages in my lifetime, and I was never really, I went to a wedding in Jamaica, and that was amazing. That was an amazing experience as well. But like seeing it from the perspective of whatnot, like being like at the table with y'all and everything like that, and actually being a part of the wedding and helping you get prepared for the wedding or whatnot, was a whole different experience for me because I didn't know how much went into a wedding. Number one, you know what I'm saying? It's a hell of a lot that goes into a wedding. And secondly, like just seeing how you looked at Brielle, you know, how you learned from her throughout that whole week that I was with you or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Seeing your transformation just on even leading up to that day when we walking down the aisle, I felt like I watched you like, you know, go through a transformation or whatnot. Yeah. And like, you know, seeing you and Brielle getting married, it was like, damn, like we really here. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So you really at this kind of like point where it's like, you know, we're grown, we're accomplishing our goals or whatnot, and we doing this, breaking generational curses as young black people or whatever, breaking that curse of divorce, breaking that curse of not getting married, because the only successful marriage that I've seen in terms of like till death type ish is my grandparents. They was married for like 50 something years. You understand? My grandmother's still here, but my grandfather's not here anymore. And what I learned or whatever personally, because my mother told me was kind of similar to what you watched growing up, was like, yo, the man that's provide everything or whatever, you got to do this and this and that. Yeah. But at the same time, I was also kind of told like, nah, you got to wait till marriage, like spread your wild oats type of thing or whatever until you know. Yeah.
And that's what I mean by misconception in pop culture, because that's not the wave. Like that's not like, and I don't know who created that, you know, that perspective of being the wave.
Satan.
It had to be like it had to be, because especially for our people, like that's not the wave. Like I just knew that even with my parents, you know, splitting up and, you know, me having to become the man of the household at a young age, I knew that wasn't the wave. I'm like, I'm not like, imagine that, you know, like I'm a one woman type of guy. Like I'm a one woman type of guy, and once I find that one woman, like it's us versus everybody after that, you know, like
that's a fact.
So
no, that's real. And you touched on something that was pretty interesting too, when you talked about your father. And you were like, you know, he had a big presence. And I think that's another thing that's on attack right now is the masculinity. If having masculinity is seen as a bad thing. Right. I don't know if you guys, I can't remember which Super Bowl it was, but there was a Gillette commercial where they were. I
know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. I did see that.
Gillette commercial.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I remember. Yeah, that shit was crazy. Yeah,
and it pretty much was was like, yo, from they were telling their children, their little boys, like, hey, toxic, like masculinity is bad. Yeah, you toxic masculinity. The toxic masculinity is like a big thing right now. They talk about. Right, but it's. Masculinity is something that it's in it. I don't know how to explain it. You know how it is. Like,
I know exactly.
And my thing with it is just like what y'all characterizing as masculinity excuse my language, is really some bitch shit or whatever. It's not real masculinity. All these niggas, all these guys that's out here doing the pedophilia stuff or disrespecting women or, you know, acting or putting their hands on women, all this other stuff, that's not masculinity or whatever. Like, you understand what I'm saying to you? Like, that's toxic or whatever. All the things that y'all saying is toxic, but to me and to us as, you know, young black men or whatever, what we seen growing up and what we know is right versus wrong, like what y'all characterize as toxic masculinity is not even masculinity. It's really some not female, but it's really some like bitch shit or whatever, some coward, corny, you know, like stuff that's not even all the way solid or whatnot. And at the same time, nobody is perfect neither, so we all make mistakes or whatever. So you may have a person that's a masculine or whatnot, and that's a good guy or whatever, but he just may be in a bad headspace or whatever, and things like that. But it's still no excuse or whatever. That's my thing with it. It's just that like a lot of this stuff that they even characterize it as masculinity is not even it. But I understand a little bit of it because it's like, as men, we have kind of taken control because we run the world, we make the decisions or whatnot. And unfortunately, the people that's in power or whatnot are like just wicked, evil or whatever to me. You know what I'm saying? Right. So like, and I think that they put a lot of the things that they accuse people of other races of in terms of like characterizing that toxic masculinity, I think it's because I think a lot of that gets pushed on black men just because we're men. Like a lot of that stuff really don't even apply to us because we're oppressed as well. We're more I don't even want to get too much into it, but we one of the most oppressed people of like in world history or whatever. You feel what I'm saying? So a lot of stuff that they push on men as a whole in general don't even apply to us or whatever because we're not in that position of power. Most of our issues or whatnot exist in the community, in the home, in the way in which black men may treat black women and the way we think about them and talk about them, but a lot of that shit don't apply to us respectfully.
Facts. So pretty much what my boy was saying is, you know, if you're tired of all these raggedy dudes out here, if you're tired of, you know, getting mistreated, come to Tuftalk.
That's a fact. Tuftalk TV is lit, you heard?
That part.
We know how to treat women out here, you know what I'm saying? We're not doing that. And we know how to work our hands and shit too, you know what I'm saying? So if it gets to that with another man, we ain't got no issue with that.
Come to Georgia. Second minute.
No kizzy, Tuftalk. But yeah, it sound like it's really crazy to me or whatnot how, you know, like that narrative has been pushed as like toxic masculinity. And like I said, I understand it because I see the wicked stuff that's going on in the world. But a lot of it, I just see it being as wicked human beings. Like it's bad men and it's bad women. And a lot of, and as men, we have to take accountability for not holding because good men have to hold bad men accountable. You feel what I'm saying? That's another big thing. Like a lot of us be cowards or we don't have the strength to hold bad men accountable. You feel what I'm saying? Or weak-minded men accountable. You feel what I'm saying? And putting weak-minded men in their place.
Exactly.
Like a lot of, and to me, that's the biggest issue or whatever, is that we don't talk, men don't speak up enough, and men don't hold other men accountable. And that, even say, for example, if you have a friend, and your friend is, and listen, you know your friend or whatever is a good guy, but you know your friend is not taking care of his responsibilities at home, or he's not doing something right, you should not be afraid to tell your mans respectfully that he's doing wrong. You feel what I'm saying?
If you can't tell your man that he's out of pocket, it's something wrong.
Exactly.
It's definitely something wrong.
That ain't your man's.
Yeah, it's definitely not your man.
And a part of that also, because it's a lot of women or whatever out here that's raising their sons, telling them that they don't have to listen to anybody but their parents or whatever, all this other shit. And that's why a lot of kids grow up like lawless or whatever, and they don't respect other elders in the street. Not saying to allow an elder to disrespect you or nothing like that, but at the same time, if an elder is speaking to you, you got to understand that they come from a perspective that you may not understand. And elders have to learn how to listen to or whatever to what young people are saying. So it's just the thing of like bad communication and people not holding each other accountable. And I'm only speaking for the black community because it's the community that I grew up in. I'm not talking for the other community. You feel what I'm saying?
No, what you just said was a big thing too. Back in the 80s when that war took place, a lot of black men were killed. A lot of black men went to jail because of, you know, drugs and everything. The black community really got tore up, right? And so unfortunately, it put the black woman at a position where she had to be the head of the home, right? And right now in 2021, it doesn't have to be that way. I feel like a lot of women were brought up where, no, you have to be you don't have to be independent. Men, we want to take care of you. Like, trust me, if it's a good man and he really loves you, we want to take care. Like you and your wife, you were just talking. I can tell that, like you said, there's a certain pride that comes out when you're able to provide.
Right.
And that's a real thing. The Bible speaks on it. As men, we are supposed to provide certain things to our women. It says provisions, raiment, which is clothing, provisions is food, and housing. You know, that's our duties as a man. We're supposed to do that. And so, unfortunately, with a lot of the women being the head of the home, I don't know about you guys too much, but I was in a situation where after my mom and my dad were divorced, I was living with my mom, my grandma, and my little sister.
Right.
And it was like I was a young teenager. You can't raise a black man. A woman is not going to be able to raise a man.
Yeah.
You know, and that's no disrespect to women, but that's just the reality of it, because we're going to seek other outlets. Like for me, LA is gang infested. I started seeking out to that masculinity. I'm feeling myself a little bit at that age. I'm like, okay, I started seeking out masculinity. The gangs was one way where a lot of black men get caught up because they seek that organization. Military is another one. I'm also military. I'm an Army officer. And that was another way of, learning organization and really just seeking guidance for real.
Right.
And so I'll pass it on to you guys. But
No. Everything you said, when I agree with that for real. That's it's really crazy. Because even me, because I for the first part of my life or whatever, my pops wasn't always around or whatnot. My mother and my pops was never married neither. But as I got older and I got more in tune with my pops or whatever, I really understood the importance or whatever and the value of having somebody like that around. If it's a good man or whatnot. Because sometimes or whatever, it'd be waste man or whatever, where it's like it's not even worth having around sometimes. Right. But my pops was actually, a good dude or whatever, and he taught. And I said something or whatnot because last year, unfortunately, he passed away and everything. But it really hit me because you don't really know what you have until it's gone. And a lot of times or whatever, before I had that relationship with my pops or whatever, my whole attitude was like, I don't like the Most High is my pops or whatever. And it was truth to that. I don't really need, because the Most High is gonna provide for me whatever. But at the same time or whatever, my father was able to teach me things that another man or a woman couldn't teach me or tell me, in terms of my discernment, in terms of how to how to feel more comfortable with myself. Because sometimes we go through things or whatever, we don't understand why we're going through them, and it takes somebody that's older than us that been through the same thing, whether it's your father or your grandfather. Because my grandfather played a big role in me growing up as well, to tell you, yo, I see you. You know what I'm saying? I was going through the same thing. This is how you deal with this. You feel what I'm saying? And I think that every time we make it through something or whatever, hard or make it through the storm, it's our duty as as leaders of our community and as men to look back as somebody else that's also coming through the storm. But I do believe as well that black women can raise black men, but it takes a very, very strong and powerful black woman to do so. And at the same time, there are always certain things that only a man can teach another man. Yeah, that's the thing or whatever. Where I think some things we miss. But like you said, once we reach a certain age, we start looking for that in our community, that masculine energy. Because I've done, what I'm saying, I went through that or whatnot as well. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy.
Yeah, if I feel like if they know how roles are supposed to be, I feel like we don't talk about roles enough. Yeah. If a woman knows the man's role, I feel like she could raise a man. Right. But if they don't really understand the role of a man, and they're trying to raise the young black man as a child, possibly as I'm not trying to say as a girl, but you know what I mean. Yeah,
but back to your thing, that's the importance of marriage, because you said something very important too about a man molding a woman and a woman also molding a man. Because a man can't also raise a daughter by himself or whatever. She needs a woman to show her certain things, right? Sure. But when you're married and you have a woman with you that's by your side, she can tell you how to deal with the woman, and you can tell her how to deal with men. So it's a balancing kind of thing. So that's also once again the points of marriage. The way I look at it as well. And the funny thing, you were talking about this, I was thinking about this last night and this morning, that you got the president, you got the sister, you got the vice president. If the president goes down, the vice president is supposed to be able to know what to do. Yeah. Now, if the man in the situation goes down, your woman, it's her responsibility to know what to do and how to take care of things, and vice versa. If the woman goes down, it's the man's responsibility to step up and know how to take care of certain things. This marriage thing is just not about love and living lovey-dovey. It's about teaching each other and growing once again in purpose.
Definitely.
You feel me?
I know, like, especially like after my parents, split up when I was younger. I think I was around like 15. One of the main things stepping up as the man in the house, because it was just me, my mom, and my two sisters in the house after that. And that's like a different, it's a different experience. Like, it's a different mentality. It's a different, type of courageousness you got to go about. And I'm just happy that, I guess, I feel like it also, I feel like it also has a lot to do with the individual too, because, thank God I didn't like kind of gravitate towards gangs or anything like that, because I was so like invested in sports. Like, I was so, involved in sports. So like I had a lot of coaches and a lot of, I feel like, educational opportunities that kind of, okay, maybe I didn't have my dad in the house day in and day out, and, whatever the case may be. But if I had, a question about something, I know I practice, I'm going to see Coach so-and-so. Right. If I had a question about, manhood, I know even at school I might be able to kick it with a teacher for 2 seconds.
The teacher solid facts.
That small window of opportunity, may be able to carry, help me in my, in my health for like, a couple of months just from a few minute, conversation. And, I'm grateful that I was raised in a good community, a great community, because everybody's not afforded that opportunity, I was, of course, I said earlier I was raised in Montclair, New Jersey, so our community, whether you play sports or not, it's a very embracing place. So with, a situation that I was in, mom's the, the person in the household, essentially raising all of us. At 15, it's kind of like, now it's me, now it's me all the time. I may not be able to pay the bills wholeheartedly. I may not be able to do this, be able to do that. But at the same time, it's like, I got to do something, because I have two little sisters behind me. So like that leadership level, that character got to be strong. And, we talk a lot about generational curses.
Right.
I wasn't trying to repeat generational curses, all praise to God. I wasn't, I didn't go to jail, nothing like that. But I felt like I was walking the thin line, because though I didn't do gang stuff, a lot of that stuff was always around my community as well, A very small window in my community that's like that. But, it's a lot of people that's like, going in that direction. So, God, of course, kept me on the straight and narrow, helped me, of course, achieve my goals, finish college, that type of stuff. So my little sisters know what to aspire to. So,
right.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And you touched on it too. Now that we spoke about the marriage, I want to get one last thought on marriage. You spoke about college. I want to get on that. So, one question, yes or no. Is marriage worth it, yes or no?
Of course. No question. No question. My fault, because that's funny, like the misconception of how like young boys should be out here, wilding, having a girl here. Some old head once told me, and it was the most ignorant thing I've ever heard. He said, if I was you, I would have a girlfriend in every state. That's what he said. And I looked at him like,
yeah, I heard that.
Are you crazy? Like, bro, I'm literally trying to find my wife, so I could do God's will. Like, I have no clue what you're talking about,
And that's why women is out here, because they think that we got girlfriends in every state. So they're like, I'm not going to put my energy into this. Or some women will, but most women be like, I ain't put my energy to a nigga that got... If he doing it, why can't I do it? You understand what I'm saying? It's that leadership thing.
And it's not smart. So it's like the young boys, y'all got to really keep... y'all mentality and mind on God, because He's not going to lead you in those type of directions. And He's going to allow you to He going to give you the maturity and wisdom to know, like, that's nonsense. Yeah. Like submit to God's will, submit to His way, because He's going to give you everything you need. So,
all praise.
Facts.
Mm-hmm. Marriage worth it, yes or no?
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. I can't wait till I find mine. Proverbs 31, man.
Right.
That's a real thing, but it's hard out here now.
Nah, it surely is, and I say yes as well. That's like, and you have been a big role in that, and also you have been a big role in that. Just the conversations with both of y'all before you got married and after you got married. The conversations with you on the phone, it's just and with my cousin as well. Shouts out to her. She know who she is, but yeah, like talking to all of y'all, having that community around me, it's really taught me the importance, number one, of marriage and everything like that, and that it is something that whatever that we should all kind of aspire to, and grow to get that type of relationship and everything like that, and moving forward with a purpose. So. Sure. Next in line, you spoke on college or whatnot. You said you finished college. We all went to we all touched down in the HBCU. Yeah. For those who don't know what that is, it's a historically black college university. Mm-hmm. You feel what I'm saying? We all went to Hampton. I left Hampton or whatnot. I went to a little community college or whatever here in Manhattan. What about you guys? I want you to explain your journey to college.
So we all met at Hampton University, right. Summer 2014, pre-college.
Exactly.
Great program.
Fourth floor.
Harkness Hall.
Well, we was wild.
Yeah, we had a good time for sure. But we started there. Rock the only one that finished there.
Yeah, right.
But I graduated from I personally graduated from Montclair State, which is also in my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, you go.
Yeah. Say the question one more time.
No, I wanted you to say like your experience.
I got caught up with pre-college stuff.
Yeah, like when you graduated at, you know what I'm saying, all that colleges you went to, your whole school experience. Tell them where you went.
Now we went to Hampton University. It was definitely a great experience.
You graduated from Hampton, right?
I did.
I graduated. I had to make sure. Right?
Yeah. No, I graduated. My mom, she went there. I remember just being a child, and when I was ready to apply, I guess, junior, senior year, we had a long conversation on the phone for like 5 or 6 hours, and she was like, hey, college is the only time for the rest of the world you'll be able to be for the rest of your life, you'll be able to be amongst, the rest of the world. But for this 4 years, you should see what it's like to be amongst your people, for 4 years. And so I was like, all right, that was, a big thing. She said that's something that stuck. And so I remember applying. That was the only school I really applied to, because I hated the college application process. That was so taxing.
Different.
Facts.
Yeah, that was different.
It was wild. I feel bad for the seniors right now that's about to go to that.
What? Yeah. It was ridiculous. But blessed to be able to attend and finish there, and it was a great experience. Like anything, there's things that you would take, certain things you would leave. I feel like now sitting here as men, how old we all 25 now?
24.
About to be 25.
You about to be 25.
About to be 25.
But just sitting here now, it's like it's just very interesting to see the growth that we all have had. Yeah. Because I know if I could speak for myself, I was definitely immature when I was in college, and there was a lot of growth that needed to be done. And by the grace of y'all, I was able to get that, and it was a great experience. So.
Right.
Yeah.
I say for me, like I went to, like I said before, pre-college in Hampton, and then after that I went to a school, predominantly white community college. I'm not gonna say which college, but I'm gonna say whatever, BMCC or whatnot. So whatever, I'm saying, I had a little experience there. But my experience, the experience that was most memorable for me was obviously my experience at HBCU. I didn't know what to really expect or whatever, except for what I seen on the Cosby Show and A Different World. Yeah. That's what kind of really influenced me to go to HBCU. Like, that was one of my favorite shows growing up, A Different World with Dwayne and Whitley a lot, and seeing that. And also, too, I went to a middle school. It was a private middle school that I went to in East New York or whatnot, where I got a little taste of that before I even got into college, in terms of like being around black people that was all in tune, that wasn't on the wild-ish, that was, focused, I guess you could say, or whatever, not only on the word, but on trying to become successful.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So, getting that experience, and also, like, that's why I got my first taste of Black history was in that middle school, and they gave us, like, Black history classes or whatnot, so I was really, intrigued on what it would be like to go to a HBCU.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then the experience was really, really great. And I'm not going to sit here and say it was perfect because it wasn't perfect or whatever. HBCUs are expensive, most of them. You feel what I'm saying? But I did have the question of whatever, was college worth it or not? Like, was it worth it or whatever to spend all of this money for 4 years and, you know, come out and get a career that I might not like? Or would it be better for me to go to performing arts? Because, you know, I'm big on acting or whatever, writing and stuff. To go to performing arts college or whatnot, where I would, you know, focus on my, what I wanted to do in life. You understand? And pay and spend the money there. But what would tip the scale for me was getting that black experience and getting more in touch with my roots, having that type of experience.
And I'm gonna jump right in because I got a really good example for this. I think college is definitely worth it, and I know this is a big debate nowadays because you can learn things on YouTube University,
right?
And you can learn things on, you know, Google.edu. But there's two main things. I think the social aspect of college, not partying and all that stuff. I mean, finding people who are like-minded to the point where, like-minded to the point where you know you have friends for a lifetime and not just for a summer. And then on the other hand, the educational aspect that you have access, keyword access, to educational articles that you can't find anywhere else.
That's a fact.
And I bring that up because the three of us spent time in Hampton University's library, where they had, you know, certain, you know, educational documents and, you know, historical articles and historical documents that you can't find anywhere in the world, you know, going back to, you know, proof that slavery was real and proof that certain things happen in, you know, in America that, you know, that need explanation essentially. But some of those documents, some of those articles, it may take you 10 years going to that library to study. It may take you 20 years going to the museum to understand, you know, remember the famous painting they had, the banjo player? It may take you 10 years to sit there and, you know, study the banjo player and figure out, you know, what's the meaning. So it's little things like that. If you guys follow me, I hope this, like, hopefully some of our Hampton, you know, friends could understand that, you know, your time wasn't wasted because, you know, it's just those, you know, access to stuff like that, that social aspect where you find those lifelong friends, and also, you know, that educational aspect where you find education that you can't pay for. Like, yeah, you may go on, you know, you may just use your skills and your hustle and your heart, and, you know, you may say forget that and, you know, pop on YouTube and pop on Instagram and, you know, and make all the money, but the educational value, you know, the educational asset that you acquire, you know, when you go to a school like Hampton or even like some of the PWIs, Montclair State, like just being in those libraries and obtaining those articles and looking through, like that's stuff that's priceless, you know. But if you're not enrolled, how you gonna
get that experience?
How you gonna get that experience and that education? So, what you think, Rob?
Nah, facts. I definitely, I feel like you have to have a plan. I wish I would have had more guidance in high school to know
big facts.
If college was if it was for me, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like not everybody needs college. There's different ways to go about it. Not always a 4-year university. Maybe starting off with a junior college, getting your grades up, and then going to a prestigious college or HBCU or whatever, what you were trying to do, whatever lines up with what your life is and you're trying to get out of it. So, only reason I feel like I was able to even attend was because my mom, after pre-college, was like, "Hey, have you ever heard of RTC?"
Right.
I'm like, yeah, them dudes that put the flags up like before school, like, yeah, I know them. She's like, all right, nah, this is go check it out. And she said, if you want to attend Hampton, and I'd already met y'all, and you already done the pre-college thing. Right. We had built a bond and everything. If you want to attend Hampton, you're gonna have to get some sort of a scholarship. And by the grace of the Most High, I was able to get a 3-year scholarship and finish out, but I think to answer the question, bro. It just all depends on what you want to do in life.
Very true.
Yeah, for me or whatnot, I think I'll say the same as you, Rock. I think I'm caught in the middle here because I'm like, there's a certain experience or whatever that, like I said, I wouldn't have met y'all or whatever if I ain't go to Hampton or whatnot. Like the vibe is very different. You know, if you go like the Morehouse, Spelman, Howard, I would say to really like, you know, that you gotta know what you want. When you go in and have, like you said, have the right guidance around you, because that's what I didn't have neither. Like, people was telling me all types of stuff that I didn't need to hear. Like, I would say surround yourself with somebody who's where you want to be. Definitely. If you can find somebody at the college who's where you want to be and they're a solid person, they could guide you kind of in the right way, or someone that's headed towards where you want to be.
For sure.
You feel what I'm saying?
Bingo.
Something like that. Because for me, I was even with when I came back out of Hampton and I went to this BMCC or whatever, it was so much misinformation in terms of like what I wanted to do, and people point me into all different directions that I didn't need to go in.
Word.
You feel what I'm saying? So that would be my thing. I think if you do make that decision to go to HBCU, and I encourage anybody that's, you know, African, black or whatnot, if you considering going to a college, if it's not a predominantly white college that specializes in something that you're trying to do, find the HBCU to get that that experience. I'm telling you, like, you can't find that nowhere else.
I'm telling you, that education, bro. That education is top notch. Like, we got a little cousin right now. 2 little cousins, of course. One just that's at Hampton. 3 little cousin Alexandria, and I'd be like, I know she's like still there, but I'm like, yo, if I could just get to that library, bro. Like, I don't be care, because I love to learn, and also it definitely does matter about like who you are, because if you're not like a learning bug, or, you know, real hungry for education, or like me, one of the biggest things with me is like school was like a big part of, you know, I would say God used as a part of the process of saving my life. You know, keeping me in school, because like it allowed the gears to turn a lot. But I just love the fact that, you know, college kind of gave me time. Like, It was like I was paying for time. Like, I went in a little bit of debt, but it's like I was paying for time. And HBCU, that experience, Lord willing, they get some more funding.
Facts.
That's the biggest thing. Like, HBCUs, once they get the funding they really deserve, then it'll be, you know, easier to recommend, like, yo, go to HBCU, because like the teachers, the care that they have for you
is different.
It's different. And then we also got a little cousin Kayla. She just graduated from Spelman.
Congratulations.
And it's like, I be looking at that, I'm like, dang, I just want to get in those libraries, because I'm telling y'all, it's education in there that like you can't pay for. It's priceless. And it like kind of helps construct your identity, you know, as a person, as a you know, person of color, black person, however you want to, you know, chalk it up, and help you build that identity. So like, shout out to them. But yo, HBCUs, I'm telling y'all, we need to get them funding. That needs to be like a priority. That's for sure. Because
my thing with it too is like they be expensive, bro. That's they be killing me. Like,
but
we need
it's
more
valuable. Like, you're gonna pay for something valuable. Like, if it's cheap, it ain't gonna go. You know.
You're right, and you gotta invest in yourself. And then them libraries, I don't care who you are. You could be a hub book. You could be whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Matter.
It's something interesting there that you're gonna find that you like. I'm telling you, like, if you like, I'm telling you, it's different. Like, knowledge on whatever businesses you're trying to open up, little things you never even thought you'd be interested in, you'll find in those type of libraries. It's like like it's like traveling like to Egypt or something and being, what's that library called? Library of Alexandria, they called it back in the day.
Before they burned it down.
Yeah, before they burned it down or something. It's almost like that. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's something in there that you're gonna find that you're gonna rock with. You just gotta find your section. Them libraries is different.
It's books you can't even check out, bro.
Word.
And those like, it's books you can't check out. That's what I'm saying. Files on cases, like.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like these are the jewels of our time. Like, y'all gotta you know, take advantage. Don't take it for granted. You know, make sure you know you got a little paper though, cause that calf.
Yo, you remember? So yo, I was telling the other day, we was making PB&J's. Like, we was like walking to the store getting plastic forks and food.
Exactly, PB&J every night.
Like, that shit was mad funny. Like,
I'm telling you, or order pizza.
Right, that shit was crazy.
Up in the chill room.
Yeah, in the chill room, we was wild. Like,
sure.
Joint, man.
Crazy.
And they force you to go in there too. That's one thing I do like is that it's part of the curriculum. It's they'll give you I think we all had to take an English class like in pre-college?
Yeah.
All right. So we all had to take this English class where we had to write like 10-page essay, and we were forced to go in and really
research.
Yeah, do real college research, which is a lot different than like high school and before. You know, it was totally different for me writing a thesis and just knowing how to really construct your words and in a professional way. And so that library was very legit though, for sure.
I'm telling you, y'all gotta take advantage. You know, any young brothers and sisters out there who, you know, considering it, you know, find a way to get it done. You know, if it's money, you know, apply for scholarships. Like, I was a dog about scholarships because that's the only way, you know. Fortunately, you know, I was a student athlete at Hampton, but I was on academic scholarship. I wasn't on athletic scholarship. So, like, you know, academics has always been, like, a part of my nature. And applying for those scholarships was a big way that I was able to, you know, stay afloat and stay in school. You know, I was on Dean's List almost every semester I was there. You know, however, you know, the bills still got to get paid, you know. So if it's something that y'all really want to do,
shit, even if you go for 2 months like me,
like I strongly recommend it just to, you know, obtain that education, because PWIs, the love is you know, it's very different. You know, out of my 2.5 years at a PWI, I think it's maybe one teacher, you know, that I actually have, you know, a good relationship, good rapport with. Like, respect all my teachers, but it's like one that, you know, I can really like say she understood me. Compared to HBCU, a lot of them, like, they would kind of sometimes use God in class, you know? Like, they would use God in class, talk about the Most High in class. Where you get that at? Like, where they do that at? You know, nowhere. You know, so it's very important, especially, you know, getting closer to God. You can definitely get closer to God at HBCU for sure. Yeah. Like, we used to go to church together. All of us, we go to church together.
That Wednesday, like, yo, wear your suit or whatever.
Wear your suit. We go to church together. And this is a part of the college curriculum, you know? Like,
it was wild. It was funny though. It was fun.
You think you felt more like a number when you were at a PWI?
Of course. But I can still tell you my thing. I can still tell you my ID, because that's all it was. It was like, oh, next, you know. Even in class, I'm in class with like 150,000 people. And it's very different than, you know, the intimacy, you know, where a professor at a HBCU, they may feel comfortable calling you out on your BS. Like, whoa, they might pull your paper out like, this wasn't your best work, brother. Like, yo, I don't know what you got going on, but, you know, come back next week. That happened to me before I had to change my life forever. Professor Butler, he was like, yo, this ain't your best work. I'm like, what? Butler didn't play. I'm like, what? He like, this ain't, yo, come back next week. I'm like, man, I was tired, had practice. He's like, I ain't hearing none of that. I'll see you next week, man. But it's love, you know. You like,
hold you accountable.
Because they want you to be the best that you can be.
Telling you.
They really see your potential.
And if it wasn't for moments like that, I wouldn't be where I am today. Because even from that conversation, that one call out, I literally changed my major. I changed everything. Now, like, y'all know. Like,
so what was your major when you went in?
It was like sports broadcasting. I thought I was going to go work for ESPN. That was my... And then literally from that conversation, this ain't your best work. I came back, had a conversation with him. Literally, I would say, like, you know, a day later, he's like, you need to be in PR. Like, PR is your thing. You will understand business at a level that you never thought you would. So I stuck with PR. Even when I transferred back home, you know, I stuck with PR. And, you know.
And what's PR for those who don't know?
Oh, I'm sorry. Public relations. So, you know, branding, you know, connecting company brands to communities, you know, stuff like that. So, yeah.
And it's crazy, too, because, like my experience at a PWI that I went to, it wasn't terrible. My thing is I'll be like, you got to be focused if you go like to a community college, number one. You got to be focused. And I would say for those who who are looking at it from a financial standpoint where they can't afford to go to a prestigious college for 4 years, start off at a community college or a college that you go through for free. Do that for 2 years and then finish your last 2 years at, like, you know, a university or something like that. That's also another way you can still get that experience. You know what I'm saying? And still go to, you know, HBCU or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that. But what was I saying? I forgot. I'm bugging.
What?
What did you last say? I forgot because I was going to comment on what you said.
On the PR or which part?
Oh yeah, major. That's what I was saying. My fault,
Yeah.
yo. So with the major thing, that's why I messed up as well. Like I went through so many majors, bro, because of misdirection. People would tell me, you should major here. And that didn't happen to me at Hampton. That happened to me when I went to a PWI or whatnot. Like, people who didn't understand me and what I was going for was telling me things that I didn't need to hear. Like, oh, it'll be easy if you do this will do it this way. You know what I'm saying? It'll be a less hassle or whatnot. Don't focus on that. That's not going to get you nowhere. This and that. Like, little things like that or whatever they kind of like deter you from doing what your purpose is, and they try to point you the direction that they want to, you know,
Exactly.
things like that. And I think more at HBCU, you might get some of those here and there, but people or whatever who more understand where you're coming from and where you're trying to go.
Yeah. And the thing you mentioned was like the direction.
Right.
And, you know, of course, the direction that you want to go in, if you think about direction, it's like, that's like your body going somewhere. And that made me think of a book that I read by Ta-Nehisi Coates called Between the World and Me. Definitely my favorite book, one of them. But he talks a lot about the body, like, you know, the body is the, you know, the shell of the soul kind of thing. And he went to Howard.
Right.
But he talks a lot about how, as black men, we have one job to protect our body. And in terms of protecting our body, and he talks about this relating to marriage, relating to family. In terms of protecting our body, black men face a lot of things in terms of like socially, and we have kind of like two choices. It's like we're either going to go towards the streets or go and use things like vices like education to like buy us time.
Right.
And I think a lot of, you know, young African-American men, young black men, we kind of hit a wall at a certain point where it's like, okay, which way do you go? Which way do I go? Which way do I go?
Yeah.
Like, which vice is going to take me, you know, which vice, oh yeah, we only got like a couple minutes, but which vice is going to take me to essentially, you know, where, like, to essentially take me where I need to go to, you know, manifest our destiny, of course, and, you know, in our case, do God's will. So I think the direction that PWIs a lot of time push you into, I wouldn't say is really the cookie cutter lifestyle, but it is kind of like theories that don't really align with what God what God says, you know. And at the end of the day, that's all that's important is us doing His will. So in doing that, if we don't have I'm blessed that I started at Hampton because like that concrete base was, you know, that concrete base was put together. So it's like, when I went to the PWI, it was what it was for, business.
Right.
Politics as usual. It's business, you know, business. That's it.
Yeah, like you wasn't guessing where you had to go.
I didn't guess where I had to go. I didn't guess my identity. I didn't guess what I believed in. I didn't guess who my God was. I didn't have to guess none of that. You know, and that's a big part of, like, protecting your soul and protecting, you know, who you are as a person.
Right.
When you face those kind of, you know, because it's the same structure as a corporate structure. So,
right.
You know, I think the biggest thing, you know, for one, definitely read that book, Between the World and Me, because you'll get a better understanding. Ta-Nehisi Coates. You know, I always recommend that book to a lot of people because, like, from that example, like, you got to protect your body. And he talks a lot, as we was talking about marriage before, he talks a lot about when you're the man and how you have to, how you're not only responsible now when you get married for your body, but you're responsible for your wife's body. And of course, when you multiply and be fruitful, as God's word says, you're responsible for your children's body too. So, you know, that's why it's important that as black men, we always connect to, you know, the Most High and our source, because He's gonna, you know, lead us. You know, especially with the world we face. You know, we can't do it on our own. You know, so.
Yeah. So on that note, guys, unfortunately, we got to wrap it up here. But before we wrap it up, I want to get one last thought. I'm going to ask y'all again, college, worth it or no? Yes or no? You said yes.
Definitely. Just know your purpose and why you're going, though. Don't get distracted and don't be there for 25 years trying to get a BA. Like, after like 6 or 7, it's like, all right, now. Like, 7 or 8, you like, all right, now. Yeah, never quit, though, anything you do, for sure.
Boy, what about you, Rock?
Yeah, I'm about the same. It's you gotta know your purpose. You gotta know what you're there for. If not, it's not worth it.
Yeah, same here for me. Know your purpose and like have somebody that's like that's in front of you that's gonna show you the way wherever you decide to spend your next 4 years outside of high school at.
For sure.
So that's a wrap, guys. Unfortunately, hopefully we get to do this again. We might have a part 2, but we love all those who tune in. Leave your comments and your thoughts in the comment section, you heard?
Subscribe.
Leave a like and subscribe.
Definitely
you know what
like
I'm
and
saying?
subscribe.
Tuftalk
Podcast.
Podcast.
Yeah, that's my joint. You know the vibe. Don't kizzy. But before we get up out of here, I want to play one of your joints, my boy. So pick which record you want to play.
You already know what I'm trying.
What you trying to hear?
You pick which one.
You know what I'm trying to hear.
Which one? You fades or on?
How you face?
The Smile joint?
Life and
Oh, yeah.
You already know.
Which one is that again? What's that one called?
Yeah.
I'm in the
Praise
game.
God.
Yeah, praise God. Oh,
Exactly.
yeah,
I try to
that's
give you the
sad.
oop. I'm
It's
thinking.
right
Oh,
there,
nah, it's
bro.
right here. I love
Yes,
this song. I
sir.
forgot about this one.
I'm
This is my joint.
That's all right.
Yeah. I forgot. I'm
Praise to the
wildin'.
Most High.
This is Rock Right, new album, Reborn.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Shout yourself out.
This
my boy.
life got me feeling chosen. I'm locked and loaded in the zone like the model rose, and I'm in the game. Praise Yah, that's my father's name. He is a king through his son. I have been saved. My sins wait. I'ma dance on the sea bass out in the throne room. If I make it, I pray I make it. My soul's at stake. Hey, mobbing up Jacob's ladder to them pearly gates. I wanna see your face. I went like Gideon to millions, I'm saving billions in his name. Love me or you can hate me, I'm living saintly, amazing, trailblazing a new lane. Cause I'ma speak my father's message. You curse me, but all I see are stacks and blessings. You dirty, but could be clean, heat the lessons. You thirsty, holy waters in my possession.
I can say what to do.
This one's for the tribe Yahuda, they tryna shoot us cause we awakening. I can't wait to have a party with all my Akis